Alrighty, everyone, welcome back. Another episode of the Vegans Who Lift podcast, brought to you by your two favorite vegan hosts. We have Brooke Sellers, aka Miss Meatless Muscle, and myself, John Thomas, aka the Bodybuilding Vegan. And today we got a super special guest. Her name is Shelli. She is a vegan bodybuilding pro in the WNBF, and super duper excited to have her on here, ask her a lot of really tough questions, and just talk about being vegan, bodybuilding, all that goes into being in a show and in a prep, and what life looks like. And before I talk forever, I am going to slow down and ask Brooke how she is doing, and then we'll jump into a few things. So Brooke, how are you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited to have Shelli on. I've followed Shelli forever. She has amazing physique, and you're so gorgeous too. Like, you have amazing stage presence, which is obviously a big player in this sport as well, an aesthetic sport. So yeah, I'm excited to chat and get to know you more.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to have this opportunity to talk with you both. And I've been following you for years. I know you have a great influence on veganism and bodybuilding, and it's just a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, I think we're all pretty like-minded. And I think that's really cool to be kind of in this same virtual room with some people that are very similar. Like, this stage is a great platform to spread our message. And I think, at least I'll speak for myself, there is no way I would put myself through a prep if I couldn't publicly say I'm vegan as well. Like, if they're like, you're not allowed to say you're vegan, you can't have green hair, you can't put it on Instagram, I wouldn't do it. So that's just me. Before we run into all that, I want to slow us down and get back into the habit that we used to have, where we go over the wins of the week. So does anyone want to volunteer to go first? Any big wins?
Okay, I feel like I need to think about my win. Yeah, you go first.
Well, I am not in Florida right now. I am out in Phoenix, Arizona. I will say it's a win of the week that Allie and I have not killed each other. We hopped in my car, drove 2,200 miles out west, and have been hiking mountains, and it's been pretty fun. It's a different change of pace. I love the mountains. I don't really love the beach, so it's more for me. This is going to be like 2 wins. So that's got 3 wins. That's win number 1. Win number 2, I've connected with this guy named Josh, and he is an event runner for all the vegan scene stuff here in Phoenix. So it's been very fun to get to meet with him and see how he holds events here, and to be able to help promote for some vegan businesses and get people to go out. So that's win 2. And win 3, I'll be very quick. I have been hiking a lot, and I've done something that I've never done in my entire training career. I've been lifting 16 years now, usually going to the gym 5 to 12 times a week. I'm cutting down to 3, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for about an hour. I stay a little bit longer to sauna and stretch. I've never done this before in my life. It's nice to have so many rest days, even though those usually get used as hiking days. Like, we just hiked for like 6 hours the other day, but it's a very different change of pace. I think I've needed just a little break from being like hardcore 100% bodybuilding everything all the time. Can't hang out with you, can't go hike because I got to go to the gym in 2 hours and be there for 2 hours. So those are my long-winded wins, but okay, I'll shut up and somebody else can go next.
Nice. I like it.
Yeah, that is awesome. You mentioned the mountains. I was able to go skiing yesterday, and that was, or actually day before yesterday, and that was amazing because here in the Pacific Northwest and Seattle area, we had a dumping of snow pretty late in the season, mid-March now. So I was able to go do that. And then I also have a second, and that's, I've discovered Upgrade Labs in Bellevue, and I've been able to do a lot of this biohacking experience. Dave Asprey is the founder of this Upgrade Labs, but they marketed to me on Instagram. I went in, and it's been amazing trying out like cryotherapy for the first time, PEMF, red charger, which is this very advanced red light therapy. So it totally gets into a lot of my biohacking nerd stuff that I love.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm into biohacking too. I love I love my red light therapy mask. I do that every night religiously. I have my little supplements that I take that I don't have to take, but it's just like, just any little edge. I like experimenting with stuff.
Well, your skin is phenomenal. I mean, you're just
Oh, well, thank you.
yeah.
I have worked you know what? That will be my win. I have been battling really bad acne for probably the past 2 years. I got really sick after my competition season. If everybody knows, if they've kept up with the podcast, I had SIBO, and my gut being off blew up my face. And I was never one to struggle with acne. But that gut skin connection was so real. And then even after I beat SIBO, it wasn't as bad. It wasn't as cystic, but I still was having acne. And I like this by far today, this is like the best my skin has looked in probably 3 years. I mean, it's incredible. And it's like, so I just have so much better self-esteem. A huge win. I did our last podcast with no makeup, which was like, I never would have done that.
Awesome.
So, it's just been, it's been really good. It's just made me feel so much better about myself. I mean, because it's like, your face, it's what everybody sees. So when you have a ton of acne, it's hard not to feel a little bit insecure. But yeah, I really just, I feel like focusing on my gut health really helped. And I did try a new skincare regimen. It's called Norse Organics. And what's interesting is with that skincare regimen, there's a morning cream, there's a night cream, and there's an exfoliator, and you use it 3 times a week. It's like a scrub. But with the instructions, it's like, stop washing your face. Like, don't wash your face, which was something I was doing all the time because people kept telling me, like, every time you work out, you need to wash your face. Like, every time you sweat, you need to wash your face because, bacteria and all that stuff. So I was washing my face probably 3 times a day. And so I was like really nervous about totally not washing my face. But oh my God, it worked. It totally worked. It's been crazy. So I just use water and that's it. And it's been like a miracle. It's crazy.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I imagine that product is vegan as well. Norse Organic.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Yes, it's all natural ingredients. Yeah, it's they're sourced from Norway. You can read all about the ingredients, but it's really good stuff. Very good stuff. Very potent.
I'll check it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. These are things that I was not taught in elementary school. I just would assume wash my face all the time. They don't teach you a lot in school, like
I know.
to be influencers or any of this. Like we've all had to build this from the ground up.
Yeah.
All right, Shelli, where are you located to go skiing just like that?
So 40 minutes from my home is Snoqualmie. And so I'm just southeast of Seattle. And it's just great on Tuesdays to run up that. So I work as a licensed mental health counselor, and 3 days a week I'm in office, 7-hour days for those 3 days, and then half days on Fridays. So Tuesdays are my billing administrative days, and also if I have time to go up skiing. So it's awesome.
I love that. Are you not scared of skiing? I'm scared of skiing. I've gotten hurt skiing, and I'm like, I can't get injured because I want to lift. But
exactly.
Is it safe for you?
Yeah, I mean, especially in competition season, I'm less than 12 weeks out from the Columbia Classic on June 14th, and I'm in the process of my cut, and I think about that because I've been solo skiing. I went Tuesday solo skiing, and it's like, oh, one fall will wreck this comp prep. So I have to be really mindful. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I know you, so I'm trying to pretend like I don't know you. Let's roll this back a little bit. If anybody wants to go check out her page, kind of cool. I don't know if y'all are into angel numbers. Probably by the time this podcast goes live, it'll change. But 888 posts, 888 posts. That's cool. It's vegan_WNBF pro. So if you guys want to go follow Shelli, check her out there. You can see what she's up to. You look like you're in your mid 30s. That's where I would probably peg you.
Thank you.
Is that correct?
Yeah, no, I'm turning 52 next month. But I do love it when people say that because I really have to attribute it to being whole foods, plant-based vegan. I mean, aside from the biohacking stuff I love, but yeah, thank you.
If you guys look at her page, like unreal physique. Well, to me at least, unreal physique for what most people would think of as a vegan. And then when you put your age behind it, like it's mind blowing for me. It's like, why doesn't everybody do this? Because this is incredible. So I just want to throw that out there. How long have you been bodybuilding?
About 6 years. I mean, we had the 1 year for shutdown, right? But 6 years, and it was a bucket list. I was 45 years old, and I wanted to. Someone had said to me, like, "When's your next competition?" And I said, "For what?" And he said, "Bodybuilding. You'll win. Just go do it." And so it stuck in my head. And then I hired my trainer, Nolan McSheridan, and then my nutrition coach, Judy Wright Morris, and John Nickerson as my posing coach. And I just trained for 5 months. I followed everything to a T. I stepped on stage and I won Fit Body first place and overall champion, which earned me a pro card in October of 2018 at Northwest Royal Bodybuilding Championships. So it's just taken off from there. And I love it. It was a great way to handle the stress from the hardships of divorce, and kind of keeping my head in the game for keeping on with, progression, and having a life that I could support my daughters with, being a healthy mom and being grounded and centered. And bodybuilding really has been a saving grace in so many ways for that reason. Yeah.
Amazing.
So you're in WNBF, correct?
Yep. World Natural Bodybuilding Federation. Yeah.
Okay, so for maybe our listeners who aren't familiar with that, what is the difference between that and like NPC? It's a natural federation. So how do they ensure that you're, really natural?
Yes. Well, they are the most stringent on that spectrum. You've got NPC on that one end and then WNBF on the far other end. And so they do polygraph testing before competition, before stepping on stage. And it's legit. I've worked in a jail. I know you have too, John. And, working in the jail and the courthouse and for police work, I was polygraphed several times. And going into every competition, you have to have polygraph within, if I've competed, say 8 weeks before, I have to polygraph again. Like, I think it's a 6-week time frame between competitions. And so they really do a good job of about 20 minutes of questioning, and then stepping on stage. Once you win, you're not allowed to hug people. You're not allowed to be touched. And then they escort you off stage, and then your analysis takes place, and they literally watch you pee in the cup. So you've got to make sure you are hydrated enough to be able to do that, and also just get over the phobias around that. And then they can randomly test at any point. So I really appreciate that. And I hope that, with with technology ever evolving, I think I've heard of the blood spot testing. And I think that that's even more specific on finding out if there's been, human growth hormone, steroids, et cetera. So, but,
Do you have to pay for the testing, or do they pay for it?
Okay. Yeah, no, we do. Yeah, as competitors. And I don't mind. I would rather go on to a level playing field. And it's funny because one of my photos went really viral with Natalie Hayes and Maddie McConnell, and everyone's alleging that I use steroids. I was like, come on. My voice hasn't changed. I don't have huge traps. Like, those are kind of the giveaways, I think. And I'm new to this, relatively speaking, so I don't know all the giveaways, but in any case, it's, I guess, sort of a compliment that these guys, there's a MMA fighter that was just like railing on me saying, "Oh, you use steroids." And I've also been accused of having hair extensions. I'm like, nope, this is just my hair. So no extensions.
Oh, wow. Now that's impressive.
Life. So, but it's interesting, people feel like behind their computer screen, they can say things that are pretty hurtful. And we all know, right? But you just keep on showing up as you are with integrity. And that feels great to live that honest life.
I would say it's a compliment. If they think that you had to use drugs to get your physique, that's a compliment. For people that are maybe listening and don't know exactly what you look like when you're stage lean, how tall are you, and approximately what do you weigh in at?
Yeah. Yeah, so, I was 5'6". I think with, squatting with a bar on my back, it's kinda shrunk my my spine a little bit, I've noticed, and so I'm maybe 5 and a half-ish or so. I weigh, usually off season about, 136 to max, ideally, max 140, and on stage, leanest is at 122 and 8.9% body fat on DEXA scan. So,
Okay.
yeah, it's shredded.
Impressive. Awesome.
Thank you.
I would say that's impressive, and in the realm of upper end natural lifter. Yeah, like I mean, obviously genetics and stuff play into this, muscle insertions and things along that nature. But yeah, I don't think, at least in my idea, I wouldn't be like, oh, she has to be taking drugs to get here. She just has to be doing everything right. And you've been doing this, crazy to me that you started that late in the
Yeah,
game. But
yeah.
also, I think about it, I started at 15. I'm like, how many sets of like leg presses can I do in my lifetime before my knees just don't love me anymore? I don't know.
Mm,
I don't know the answer to that. So if you're 45 and starting with a really good foundation, you hired coaches right out the gate,
mhm.
probably got us still a really good runway here. And you're at one of the top levels of the game. So, all that
Thank
to
you.
say, people are gonna hate on you when you're successful, no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
they're gonna probably, people are gonna be like, oh, she's not really vegan too. Like, they're just gonna find
Right,
something to
right.
pick at.
Yeah.
um,
So I'm curious what a kind of like prep diet looks like for you. It always interests me because I feel like all of us kind of have overlapping things, but they're always different. So what does your prep diet look like? What are your staples?
Yeah, so I really love tempeh, and I've gotten into making my own homemade seitan, and so that's really probably, I mean, I try to be normal and go out and eat sometimes, but I really do otherwise eat whole foods, and so seitan's probably the most processed, and so those are the main, and then also, I've converted to pumpkin seed and hemp seed, uh, for the protein sources, and then I eat a ton of vegetables and then, fruit, just a little bit of fruit in the morning post-workout, and that's pretty much it. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Yeah, I love my homemade seitan too. I feel like it's so much better. I actually, John, you're the one who got me started making homemade seitan. I used to always buy it at the store, which is it's good. Like it's good, especially in a bind, but it's just pricey. And then I don't know, it's
Mm.
always chewy. It's always like too chewy. I get
Yeah.
tired of chewing it. So the homemade is really the way to go. But I still haven't gotten used to tempeh. Even after all this time,
Mm.
I still like I just don't find myself really enjoying it. That's just
Yeah,
the
that
one for
fermented
me.
taste. Is it the
Yeah.
fermentation? Yeah.
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 Yeah. I
Do you
know.
have any good hacks?
Coconut amino acids, and then I use turmeric and black pepper and, black, salt, and that's pretty much it. I've really kind of conditioned myself to be okay with that. I mean, especially when looking at the end goal of stepping on stage. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess it's like anything else, like cucumbers. I don't love cucumbers, but they serve a purpose, right? So it's like, if I
Yeah.
have to eat cucumbers and mustard, I will. Like,
Mhm. Yeah,
I found,
right.
when Allie makes it, she'll steam it first and then like air fry it.
mm,
Oh,
Steaming it can seem to help take out some of that bitterness. The best I've ever had, was, this guy made it for me once and he smoked it. Like, he had a
oh,
smoker and they were making
wow.
meat for other people. He's like, but I'll throw some tempeh for you,
Uh-huh.
on the side. And I guess like it just had more of like, I don't know. I guess just a good flavor. There was no aftertaste with the way he made it, but I don't know how he made it. But
Mhm.
so I don't know. I guess if you guys
Mhm.
know how to smoke. I don't know how to smoke foods.
I know. Yeah.
Um, actually, that is a good question. Are all drugs banned from the natural competitions? Does that include things like marijuana and other recreational drugs too?
You have to look up WNBF for the current banned substances, but we follow the WADA, is it World Anti-Doping? It's not association, it's agency, World
Agency.
Anti-Doping Agency. Yeah. So everything, that the Olympians have to follow, we do as well. So it's hopeful that in my lifetime, maybe bodybuilding can come back into the Olympics. That's what I would love. And WNBF would be slated for that, I'm sure. So
Yeah,
yeah.
that would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
So we spoke about this just a little bit earlier, actually off air, and I think that this is something that, like, if somebody's like, "Ooh, this sounds like fun. I want to go start bodybuilding at 45 or wherever I am on my journey." How many shows have you done now? Do you know?
Let's see. I brought up the list because I knew I would not remember. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think 11.
Wow, that's so
Mr.
impressive.
Yeah, Mr. Ms. America in New Jersey last October was the last one. So yeah,
That's a lot of shows.
it is.
Very few people get that far. A lot of people do like 1 or 2 and then they're out. And I think that's a testament to why you're able to be 12 weeks out and go skiing, because you're like, well, I've done this 10 plus times, so I know what to expect. And also, I think you probably, if you're like me at least, you've realized that you have to still have some enjoyment in your life while you're in a prep. Otherwise, you're not going to do it.
Definitely.
Tell me, in those 11 shows,
Mhm.
have you experienced any difficulties, or has prep gone perfectly all 11 times? Like, what what either from the prep side or from lifestyle has come into play with you
Yeah.
getting ready to go on stage?
I contracted the COVID Delta virus, and that was like weeks before I stepped on stage. I'm trying to remember which one that was. It was in Arlington. Whew, that was right when we were just coming back into bodybuilding after the shutdown. So that was a hardship. Health wise, my cycle has stayed consistent, and my naturopath runs my hormone panel, and she's like, "You're not even in perimenopause yet. Like you're thriving even when you're down to
Wow.
8.9% body fat." Yeah, I've never lost a cycle. Then so that's a physical aspect, and then the emotional and hardships have been I've had 3 different immediate family members hospitalized at various times, like weeks before or the week of me flying out to Florida to compete, or New Jersey and LA. And I tell you, that is something else to have to go through the emotional anguish of like, am I staying because of the immediate needs of these family members and being caregiver? Or is this something that I need to do to maintain my mental health? And that was the deciding factor. And getting, of course, their stabilization, I would never leave if they weren't stable. But it's that truly since 2022, when I won silver medal at Worlds, WNBF Worlds in Los Angeles, it's kind of been a hardship for me because I wanted to continue on that trajectory and get gold. And yet when you have these incredible, emotionally draining situations that come up, it's really like, okay, at least I'm going to step on stage, even though I've talked to Judy, my nutrition coach, like, do I really want to do the last worlds? Do I really want to? She's like, well, you have to decide, how is that going to feel if you missed it and it was in Seattle? And I'm like, you're right. I'm going to go. So I showed up, didn't place, and that was really tough emotionally because I do like to perform and achieve and win, of course, like everyone. But life happens. And I know we talked off air, John, about, the hardships of loss and how that can be impactful.
Yeah, I'll share my experience, and then I'm curious to see how you handle things during prep,
Mhm.
because from my last prep towards the end of 2023, in this one prep from we started around May and finished around November. Throughout the course of this prep, probably the biggest impact, I lost my dad during that prep. I moved cities once, and then I moved from a house to an apartment once. I ended a relationship that I had been in for over a year, and it was the right call. It had nothing to do with prep, but it was just another thing that happened during this. It was and I got surgery to have a tumor removed. I still got 17,000 steps that day. Actually, they allowed me to be awake and watch them cut this benign tumor out of my chest, and they still don't know what it was from the biopsy. It's non-cancerous. They think that maybe I got poked with something like a stick or a bug bite, and it just festered for I guess a year. Anyways, so what I did was I think I compartmentalized all that. I did not shed a tear when I ended this year-long relationship. I kind of joked that my dad picked a good day to go because Tuesday was the only day that I didn't have cardio and didn't have training. I had either cardio and training or just cardio every single other day in the week at my prep at that point. And I already had my meals prepped. So I just put them in the car. And when we took them on off life support, I ate meal 15 minutes after that in the room with him. And from an outside perspective, people might be like, wow, you're heartless. You don't even care or whatever. And to me, it was like, well, I've set this really big goal. I've asked everybody else to sacrifice time with me. I can't go out to eat. I go to bed early. It definitely took a toll on the relationship. And I viewed it as if I could have a conversation with my dad right now, after he passed, if I could go to wherever he is and talk to him and say, hey, what do you want me to do? I believe my dad would say, keep following your goals. Don't sit around. We had a celebration of life party. We didn't have a funeral. If I die, y'all need to go find my trippy playlist and pick your favorite songs, wear rainbows. Black is not allowed at my funeral, or it's not even going to be called a funeral. It's going to be called a party. I want y'all to have fun. And I tried to view it that way, that my dad would want me to still work towards these goals and do what filled my cup. However, after the show and after some psychedelic experiences, I processed the loss of my dad. I processed the loss of that breakup. But for the next 3-4 months, I was able to I stayed locked in. Didn't miss a single day of cardio the entire prep. Didn't miss a single day of training. I think you almost have to do that in a sense. You have to become very selfish. And it's not out of I'm more important than everything else in the world. It's just, how are you going to show up on stage being your best if you don't do all the things? So I'm sure that somebody that wants to compete doesn't know what it's like to be 2 or 3 weeks out from a show and be like, I want to stay with my loved one while they're in the hospital. I also need to go do this training and I need to fly to go be at this show. And so how have you dealt with those really hard decisions? What's your internal decision-making process?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is self-care, right? It could look optically like it is selfish, but it's really self-care. I mean, we have to take care of ourselves first in order to show up for those that we are, needing to caregive. And I think, as a mental health counselor, I can't I have to walk the walk for what I'm talking to my clients about. And so really staying in that awareness and knowing, that I just need to get up in the morning and do the things I need to do for that self-care, and training is part of that. And if that helps me stay afloat and not have other behaviors that are not healthy, then that's what I need to do. And if I can manage and try to be as balanced as possible to do it all, then I do, right? Looking after my daughters and my 92-year-old mom who's ailing, if I can attend to their needs and know that I've done that to the best of my ability, then it's time for me to focus on myself, because this is the only life I know. And I do want to keep on thriving and growing and progressing. I'm not one that wants to just sit in front of the TV and watch other people living their lives. I really want to be out there and doing it myself. And, making it to the triple digits I'm good. Like that's it. Once I'm at 100, I don't care beyond that. But until then, I want to live a very healthy life and very intentional, and self-care, such as competing at this point in time, is really important to me.
I love that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, prep is all about sacrifices. I feel like I think that's kind of one lesson that you learn from bodybuilding is that you're always going to have to make sacrifices, whether it's time or food or, sleep, like whatever it is. But I do think every single time that you do that, you learn something. And I mean, I felt like from both of my experiences, it's like each one was kind of a journey in and of itself. You learn something about yourself each time. And I think anytime you set a goal and you see it through, you can do that. And it just helps you grow and like build your character as a person. So yeah, I mean, it's like, it just makes you stronger in the end, just makes you better, and you just grow from it and learn more.
Yeah. And I love, John, how you said that it's like living a legacy, because your dad would want you to keep on going. And I think that's huge. I mean, then you're stepping on stage knowing that, like, I imagine that's just all the more like encouragement to succeed.
Yeah, I mean, it started getting a little bit emotional. I remember looking at my mom or one of my friends at the show and be like, my dad wasn't like big into bodybuilding or anything, but he was at all my prior shows, and I was like, this is the first one he's not here,
Oh,
and somebody's like, he's here, and I was like, ooh, a little
yeah.
extra pressure too, like, because I used to like, maybe every now and then check in. Like, me and my dad weren't super duper close towards past my 20s, but as a child, he was there for literally everything. Not that he was a bad dad by any means, but like we just were both very stubborn. We butted heads a lot, so we didn't have a huge relationship throughout my 20s.
Mhm.
And now like I used to call him every now and then when I'd want to make him proud. And now
Mhm.
it's kind of like I don't know where everybody's at. I don't know, spirituality thing. I don't necessarily believe in heaven with like
Mhm.
clouds and shit. But I feel like every day is a chance to make my dad proud now
Yeah.
and try to
That's great.
listen to some of the lessons that he taught me, like stop and smell the roses. That's why I have this rose on
Mhm.
this hand, is to remind me to do that, because I can be the type of person that's I set a PR, I'm on to the next. I sign a client, I'm on to the next. I do this, I'm on to the next. And I'm not ever slowing down to enjoy parts of the journey. So I'm trying to work on that. Always, for me, it's always like I don't think I'll ever have it figured out. It'll always be a work in progress. But yeah, thank you for seeing that. And
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's how I want to approach death or loss in any type of way. Like I would rather, for me, what helped me, like if somebody's going through a loss or a grieving phase, like I'm glad I had a good dad for 30 years. I know people that never had a dad or that had a
Mhm.
bad dad. Like my dad
Mhm.
wasn't perfect, but I wouldn't roll the dice and pick a different one. I'm happy with what I had, even when I lost and when I did, and I'm grateful for what I've had. And I'm realizing through loss, through loss of relationships, that every day is a gift. You can do with your gift what you want. You can throw it away. You can be unhappy with it, but every day is a gift. And the more we can lean into that, I think the happier we'll all be. Um,
Mhm.
and I have
Yeah.
no clue where we're going
Mm.
from here.
Yeah. Yeah. A
Well,
lot of
I'll
that
shift.
resonates for sure. Sorry,
Yeah.
Brooke. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was curious. I don't know if I know your vegan origin story. What made you decide to go vegan, and how long ago was that?
Yeah. So, I mean, it began when I was in college. I I became vegetarian, and then my mom was like, "Oh, it's just a phase." I'm like, "Oh, no, it's not." And then I traveled to Hong Kong and I saw the real deal, like Macau and Hong Kong, and how they have animals hanging from hooks, and going to fancy restaurants and being told by the family I was with to go ahead and choose which fish was going to be on the table. And from that point, that's where it was a real turning point to become vegetarian. And then fast forward to being vegan in 2014, that was when um, I had a surgery, and I decided to do Karma Chow's cleanse post-surgery for 2 weeks with whole foods, and I was like, "Oh, it's vegan. Well, this will be interesting." And then when I came back concluding that, I, had eggs, organic eggs, and it caused rosacea, and then I tried dairy, and it was organic, and I got acne. Hormonal acne is always on the lower half of the face, so I realized it just wasn't suited for my body, and then I also educated myself with the horrors of the egg and dairy industry that I was just clueless to before. So it just became a no-brainer, and I can never imagine going back. I mean, once you turn on that light, how do you turn it off? I don't know. Yeah.
When people say, "Yeah, I used to be vegan," I'm like, "You never were." Once you see it, I don't know how you could unsee it. If you're doing it for ulterior, like other motives, like just health, then I can get it. But you're plant-based. But if you're
Yeah.
vegan for the animals, like you said, I think you have a unique experience. Most people don't, unless they're hunters. Like go pick
Mm.
the animal that's gonna die or
Yeah.
see it. Somebody said if slaughterhouses had glass windows, we'd all be vegan, and I think you're right on that path there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this was, then correct me, I think I'm right. You went vegan before you started training, at least for bodybuilding
Oh,
purposes.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because 2018 is when I stepped on stage. So I'd been 4 years vegan, and then it's been decades since I've had meat, decades and decades. So, yeah.
What
So
was
the
the
haters,
cleanse? What was the cleanse that you did?
Karma Chow's, I'd have to look it up. I know I've said it in other podcasts. It's Clean. Is it Clean in 14? I think that's maybe the name of the book. Incredible though, because she has the readers journal their emotional experience throughout the cleanse. So it's really ingenious because it enables you to recognize how the foods influence your body and your thinking and your energy. So that's what I was loving, because I'm kind of like, I'm all about natural, as far as like, having natural water births for my 2 daughters. And after having a hernia surgery, I was like, ugh, I need to get rid of all the general anesthesia in my system. And so that's what compelled me to try to figure out what could I do to really do an internal cleanse. And her book was life changing. So I thanked her. We've chatted before, and it's really been a pivotal point in my life. So I guess it was meant to be.
Very cool. Was it like, were you able to eat, like, did you eat solid food, or was it like a juice cleanse, or was it just like a Whole
No.
Foods kind of thing? Okay.
Yeah, Whole Foods. Like, actually, after the COVID shutdown, I felt like, again, and the gyms were reopening, I decided to do the cleanse again. And I look crazy coming through the check line because my grocery cart is full of vegetables, and it's like the epitome of health. Like when you do the week 1 and then you go back and shop for week 2. And so it's a ton of whole foods, vegetables and fruits. And um, some of those recipes I still cook to today, and people are like, "Oh, it's so good." So yeah, I highly recommend the book or checking out her website.
Very cool. I'll have to check it out. I do like cleanses here and there. Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. I think it's fun. I do usually notice some sort of benefit. I actually just ordered a juice cleanse, and
Uh-huh.
it's funny, the card, it gives you instructions on like what to do before a cleanse. And it talks
Mhm.
about, don't have any meat, don't have any dairy, don't have any eggs,
Mm.
don't have any processed foods. And I'm like, we should be doing this all the time. Like, I hope people read this and they make that connection. Like, if I shouldn't be eating this before a cleanse, maybe I just shouldn't be eating this at all.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah,
if you can
it's
adapt to
interesting.
it. I mean, it's that balance between living normally, where you can go to a restaurant, not be thinking about whatever, the fries, that are aging and that sort of thing, and also deciding, like, where do you wanna go with your longevity and your health and wellness. And I think, as we were talking before, skin is the largest organ that we have, and it is reflective of our health. So when you choose to drink purified water. I have an Air Water Life machine, which is like a Kangen water machine. I really feel that when I'm drinking 1.5 to 2 gallons a day, that's really influencing my overall health. And so being selective, and personally for me, choosing organics, non-GMO, like that, I think is what helps me get the labs that I get. Or when I did as I mentioned earlier, going to Upgrade Labs in Bellevue for biohacking, using a metabolic trainer. I've never tried one of those. I don't know if either of you have, but that's where they put the oxygen on, and then you have the oximeter to measure your oxygen levels and heart rate. And it's amazing because I was able to get my 15% oxygen in these varying rates to reflect my overall health with stable heart rate and oxygen levels, to the point where like either Mount Kilimanjaro or even Mount Everest, where you have those oxygen depletions, my body was able to just maintain. And I don't think if I was eating a bunch of, processed foods and living a lifestyle that wasn't conducive to health, I would be able to have those numbers. But, it's kind of fun to play around with that and see how well I can perform on my blood labs at my naturopath, or, doing a metabolic trainer and seeing how I can perform. Because I don't do cardio aside from like occasionally road cycling or skiing or something like that. I do not like getting on those machines at the gym. And so it's nice to be able to
That's
perform
impressive.
Yeah, thank you.
Very
I have
impressive.
a couple competing questions then. So,
Sure.
do you track steps or anything like that, or you just have training that your training is your main output of energy?
Yeah. So, I mean, I use a Trainer Fu app with Nolan, and I check those off 6 days a week. It's a little less than 2 hours a day, 6 days a week of training. And it's all compound lifts, hypertrophy, and like just that may be the cardio in and of itself. But I had a friend that had been really on top of her steps, and she was like, "Let's look at your Apple Watch. Let's see what it says." And I average about 10,000 to 12,000 steps a day without even trying. I just am
Okay.
up and down the stairs in the house, walking around. So maybe that's cardio too, but I don't feel like I'm getting my heart rate up or anything, not doing intensive cardio.
It's energy expenditure at like higher levels of bodybuilding. That's something that we'll track, just because as you get into prep, most people will take they won't take the stairs, they'll take the elevator, they'll park closer, they'll find ways to conserve their energy, even if it's like subconscious.
Yeah.
But since you're strong and you're training frequently, women are, from at least some of the listings that I've been tuning into, able
Mm.
to mobilize fat a little bit quicker than men, so they can use more fat stores during training. So that kind of makes sense. Like,
Mhm.
you're getting some basic movement, which is going to burn calories, but also you're doing so much in the gym and you have a good amount of muscle mass. That's cool. And probably, as Brooke, like you've seen, like it ties into hormonal health. Doing an hour a day on the stair climber isn't going to do your cortisol or hormones any good at all. So I think
Yeah.
that's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So do you not do any like vegan meats either? Like you don't do any I don't know, like the tofurkey or like any of the processed
Mm.
meats?
I mean, I try to create like a Thanksgiving meal, where I might get a field roast or something. I'm always making sure it's non-GMO. Oftentimes, those products are hard to find where they're truly organic. So I maybe a couple times a year. But yeah, I really just, I don't, when I eat them, they cause digestive upset for me.
Mm.
And I don't know if you both are aware, but there was a shortage of pea protein in the crops this last year. Who knows, climate change, whatever, or demand, more consumer demand. But you can Google search and see that 7 of the main companies, none that I'm sponsored by, they have sourced from conventional. And so I have had some major digestive upset and also hair loss from glyphosate poisoning. And so that's why I switched off from pea protein, even though it was organic, to pumpkin seed and hemp seed protein, and I'm making my own protein powders now. But that was shocking to me. So to get back to your question, I just truly try to stay away from those foods. And I know that if I'm trying to be social and I'm out with friends and we're going to an awesome vegan restaurant that's like, not necessarily like health conscious, vegan, organic, then I'm going to pay the price. I'll be going to the restroom within an hour. So my body just
Oh,
doesn't want it. So
that's crazy.
yeah.
Shout out, for your proteins. What brands have you found that worked for you?
I mean, the thing is that's the trouble I'm having right now. Until we can get a truly organic pea protein, plant sourced protein powder, I'm having a bit of a hard time digestively because I literally, like, I had clumps of hair coming out, like probably 30-40% of my hair was gone. And that's the only thing that
So
my naturopath and I could decide was that it was glyphosate poisoning.
so for the pumpkin seed,
Mhm.
is that actual seeds, or are you getting like a pumpkin seed protein powder?
I see. Yeah, I do order online and an organic source of that. So I have my little canister of that and then the hemp seed.
Okay.
And then um, I, yeah, I think that I don't know if it's affecting muscle gain because I can't quite tell yet, because before it was, that everything was being met because it was a pre-formulated brand, and there's several out there that I absolutely love, but until they can source with it being truly
Yeah.
organic, I just don't want to take the chance. Yeah.
One that you might look into, I tried them once. They had reached out so that I could sample it. It's called, I think it's Smash Melon. They use watermelon seeds. I
Ooh,
think they're organic. I could be wrong.
yeah.
But that might be, and it was actually like a protein isolate. Like the macros were pretty solid. It was just unflavored, one
Uh-huh.
ingredient. But that might be something you could look into as
Ooh,
well.
definitely
I
going
was
to.
gonna ask, now that
Mhm.
we're kind of diving into diet, do you intuitively eat? Do you have a meal plan? Do you track macros? Like, how do you get stage shredded?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's been kind of a change over time because I would go into prep thinking, okay, I'm dialed in. I'm really going to eat this very specific way. And then afterwards, I think you both have alluded to the fact that that can lead to behaviors of scarcity mindset, where then your brain convinces you that this is far and few between, so you better eat more of that, and I just didn't like that. It's not healthy. So I try to just, um, stay the course when I'm in prep and have refeed meals. I know that a lot of the top competitors, my friends, they don't even do those anymore, and I'm not wired that way. I still need to be able to enjoy that, different sort of meal and not be so dialed in all of the time. Um, so yeah, I don't know if that answered your question.
I
I
totally
think
relate to
so.
that.
Do you
Yeah.
like, I guess, if somebody was trying to emulate you, like, do you have a written meal plan that you follow and then you have
Mm,
refeeds on the side, or do you have written macros that you follow? Like, how do
mm.
you
Yeah,
how do you personally dial it in?
got it. Yeah, so Judy Wright Morris has, an app that I use to, track when I'm in the cut, and
Okay.
then she followed me this last post-competition to get me out and slowly tapering out of that. I love Chronometer, and the main reason is not just for macros, but the micronutrients, because that to me is more valuable. I want to make sure I'm hitting all the nutritional vitamins and minerals in my diet. And when I don't, then I want to supplement. So that to me is a comprehensive way of ensuring good nutrition. And outside of that season, I just tend to kind of eat the same prep foods, but then I'll add in something else, like, that
Okay.
maybe I wouldn't, a sauce or something that I wouldn't normally have during the cut. And then I really try to not be so dialed in to, because I already am so dialed into like supplements and nutrition and biohacking that I feel like that pushes me into another level if I'm going to be like every day targeting my chronometer and making sure that I've met those macros and all that. I try not to live that way. Yeah.
It can become
Yeah.
very obsessive behavior.
And
I'm the same way. I have to have like balance. I definitely get that scarcity mindset where it's like,
mhm.
oh my God, I need to eat all this peanut butter because when am I going to be able to eat peanut butter again? And it's like, and it's natural. Like when you really think about it from like an evolutionary perspective, if
Yeah.
if your body was going to be in a period where you didn't have a lot of food, it would be like, all right, we got to hoard all of this food here. We're going into hibernation. So let's just go ahead and
Right.
stock up. So it's
Right.
only natural, but yeah, I think that works for me. I have to have like a little bit of something, a little treat here and there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We're coming up on time. Shelli, I just want to say thank you so much for carving out this time to be on here. Did you have any further questions, Brooke, that you wanted to ask before we sign off?
I don't think so. I just want to say thank you for coming on and giving us your time. And I hope our listeners found some value today. And thank you for sharing your story.
Oh, thank you so much. I hope to be able to meet you in person someday. You're currently in Georgia, is that
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and I know that John and I met a couple years ago, the 23 World Vegan Bodybuilding Championships. So I hope to be able to see you again soon. Thank you so much,
Yes.
both of you, for having me on today.
Yeah, I think an episode 2 or a second part will be warranted sometime soon. That is kind of my last thing. Do you have any competition? 12 weeks, and which one?
Yeah, Columbia Classic in Washington State, and so WNBF event, and that's if all holds well with my 92-year-old mom, and then looking at potentially November Worlds, WNBF Worlds will be in Los Angeles again. That's where I won my silver medal last time. So it's all contingent on how everything goes family-wise. And I do want to do a shout out to Vegan Strong Plant Built Team. That is my sponsor for the last couple of years. And really, really appreciate all that Danny and Giacomo have done for me. And just really appreciate everything that's come forth from this journey since I started in 2018.
Oh, great team, great people, and you are a great athlete to be on the team. You are pushing the needle forward for vegans who lift, vegans who compete, vegans who are just awesome people. So thank you so much, Shelli. And again, you guys can go find her. Please follow along on her journey, support her. It's vegan_WNBF Pro at Instagram. Seriously, it's been a pleasure having you on here.
Thank you.
That's all for me. Brooke, do you want to take us off?
Yeah, thank you guys for listening to another Vegans Who Live podcast. We will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the Vegans Who Live podcast. Please, please, please support us by taking care of our show sponsors. They are a huge part of our success. They take great care of us. First, we have Green Bites Go. You can use code #VegansWhoLive to save 25% off your order. That is the biggest deal they give literally anywhere.
And we also want to give a special shout out to our supplement sponsor, Veg Nutrition. And you guys can use code VegansWhoLive to save on your order. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe so that you don't miss any other episodes.